Imagine your life is at stake and you're standing before a judge who is supposed to be impartial and fair. But what if this judge is corrupt and has a bias against you or your case? This is not a new issue. Judicial fraud has been an ongoing problem for centuries. But exposing it has never been easy. Judges are often looked upon as the arbiters of truth, but there are occasions when they themselves are the perpetrators of fraud. Some judges have specific personal interests, extraneous relationships, or public opinions that can possibly influence their decisions and obstruct justice. Though it's a difficult subject to broach, exposing judicial fraud is essential to safeguard justice and democracy. If judges cannot uphold the law and the ethical principles they swore to uphold, it undermines the entire judicial system. But how do we expose judicial fraud? Activists have been fighting for judicial reforms, but not enough is being done to address the root cause of the problem. The accountability mechanism for judges is weak, giving them room to behave corruptly and avoid disciplinary action. It is our collective responsibility to fight against judicial fraud. We must start by demanding accountability and transparency in the judiciary system. This includes setting in place oversight bodies, establishing ethical guidelines, and vigorously pursuing those who abuse their power. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more content on legal issues, please subscribe to our channel.
In this groundbreaking video, we dive deep into the world of judicial fraud, exposing the shocking truth that has been hidden from the public for far too long. Through extensive research and first-hand accounts, we bring to light the manipulation, corruption, and deceit that is rampant within our justice system. With a focus on real-life cases, our team of experts sheds light on the harsh reality of judicial fraud and how it impacts our society. From biased judges to falsified evidence and wrongful convictions, we leave no stone unturned in our pursuit of truth and justice. Our goal is to educate and inform the public about this important issue and encourage action toward reform and accountability. Join us as we uncover the truth about judicial fraud and shed light on a system that is in dire need of change. Don't miss out on this eye-opening and thought-provoking video that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about our justice system.
It was recently revealed to this platform that Florida attorney Renita Henry, in her capacity as legal counsel for Mr. Brooks, admitted to intentionally omitting crucial information during an email exchange with opposing counsel Emily Phillips on December 17, 2018.
Though this act had serious implications on the integrity of the legal process and the rights of Mr. Brooks, it would be repeatedly decriminalized not only in Florida but throughout America. To provide some context, General Magistrate Deborah Nabet Frankel, in her ruling, clearly stipulated that her decision was temporary in nature and that corrections could and should be made during the final hearing. This explicit directive underscores the temporary nature of the ruling and suggests that the opportunity for the necessary corrections to be implemented was not only permissible but expected. However, it has come to our attention that Judge Scott Bernstein, in a flagrant display of disregard for the principles of justice and fairness, has categorically refused to allow the aforementioned corrections. Instead, he advised Mr. Brooks to file an appeal, effectively shifting the burden of correcting a blatant omission caused by Attorney Henry's actions to Mr. Brooks, thus unjustly burdening him with the onerous task of navigating the appellate process. This course of action, or rather inaction, by Judge Bernstein is not only deeply troubling but also represents a grave miscarriage of justice. By refusing to rectify the omission resulting from attorney Renita Henry's admitted misconduct, Judge Bernstein has effectively denied Mr. Brooks his right to a fair and just adjudication of the case. This decision not only undermines the principles of due process but also fails to uphold the fundamental tenets of the legal profession. It must be further noted that the activities of Judge Scott Bernstein, General Magistrate Deborah Nabet Frankel, and attorneys Renita Henry and Emily Phillips' representation of material fact to and by the court. The violation is described as fraud on the court and is known as one of the most egregious of judicial misconduct. Nonetheless, it was deeply disconcerting to note that Judge David Miller of the 11th Judicial Circuit Court of Florida would further violated Mr. Brooks's rights by dismissing his lawsuit against attorney Renita Henry. Judge Miller also made the decision to recuse himself a mere few minutes after delivering the verdict. This sequence of events raises serious doubts about impartiality, the integrity of the judicial process, and the respect for the rights of individuals seeking justice within America's courtroom. Equally troubling was the fact that Judge Cecilia Altanaga, in an illegal practice, dismissed Mr. Brooks's federal lawsuit against attorney Renita Henry, attorney Emily Phillips, General Magistrate Deborah Nabet Frankel, General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke, Judge Scott Bernstein, Judge David Miller, Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen, and retired Judge Alan Fine, 20 days before summons had been completely served. This premature dismissal not only denies Mr. Brooks his rightful opportunity to present his case but also serves as a stark reminder of the systemic injustices present within the judicial system. At this juncture, it is evident that the continuous violations of Mr. Brooks's civil rights have transformed this case into a violation of 42 U.S.C. 1983. The disregard for due process, the failure to uphold the principles of justice, and the ongoing breaches that have occurred demand swift action to ensure that the rights of Americans are protected.
On May 4, 2023, General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke, in a disturbing display of partiality, permitted attorneys Emily Phillips and Amelia Warchel to submit an exhibit that flagrantly violated Florida statutes 61.30 and 839.13.
The inclusion of this exhibit, which contained the deliberate omission made by attorney Renita Henry, resulted in the court losing subject matter jurisdiction due to the inherent bias displayed. It is anticipated that members of the judiciary are empowered to act impartially, but instead have chosen to engage in retaliatory behavior against Mr. Brooks for their inclusion in his federal lawsuit. Furthermore, based on the recommendation of General Magistrate Gina Mendez-Locke, Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen adjudicated an order that was created through the misrepresentation of material facts. Surprisingly, Judge Samantha Ruiz Cohen recently rejected Mr. Brooks's motion for her recusal, without even presenting him with a physical or electronic version of the order, which would have provided Mr. Brooks with a reason for the rejection. This gross misrepresentation further compounds the violations that have occurred and highlights the lack of adherence to the principles of fairness, truth, and justice within our legal system. The actions described above are not only deeply troubling but also stand in direct opposition to the core values and principles that should guide our judiciary. What is greatly embarrassing is how the 5th and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution is trodden on by those who swore to protect it. But, when agencies such as the Department of Justice, the Florida Bar, the Judicial Qualification Commission, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Florida Attorney General, the Miami-Dade County State Attorney Office, the Florida State Attorney Office, and Florida Inspector General refuses to even investigate this matter, with some identifying the misrepresentation of information as not being fraud or that Attorney Henry had made the court aware that the omission was a deviation from guidelines and was not accurate. Not only did these responses or lack thereof provide others to promote corrupt practices throughout the judiciary system in America, but also act as deterrents for those with future complaints.